Maxwell Futchie back with you here for part two, side two of Track by Track with Max, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the deluxe Sunshine Factory edition of our fifth album, the Futchies' Broken Arrow, a picture frame, which was released in 1970. And here we are on side two. Um, One thing about this record that I'm noticing, going back and talking about it with you and playing tracks, is that the producer, Neil Young, who I think up until that point had only produced himself. I don't know that he had really produced anybody else, any other band than his own, Crazy Horse. He was in a band called Crazy Horse. But I just noticed that he sticks a lot of outside recordings, little snippets of, maybe concerts, crowd noises. He might run backwards or whatever, a lot of rain sound effects in between songs to kind of connect things. And like I said, little snippets of music from other sources during little breakdowns or middle sections of songs. And I think it works really well with the album, probably even more so than he realized when doing it, is because a lot of the songs, I'm also noticing the structure of the songs, it's very clear when one part ends and another part begins. You got a lot of these songs with two titles, whatever slash whatever, and clearly a point in the song when it changes. And that's actually a really good segue into the first track on side two, Ramble Tamble slash Elevation. There you got two kind of, full song ideas in one track. But the production, maybe hindsight, of course, as they say, is 2020. But the production really serves the music and the vibe and the style that we were going for. Again, maybe even better than Neil Young at the time, who was producing the record, was aware of it. He was probably experimenting with things and doing things just for fun or for the heck of it, but it actually turned out to really complement the album. The other thing is that it's so, this album is such a shift in style and trends and pop culture and in music, is because up until this point everybody was trying to sound really polished, and you know their ergo why a lot of these groups would use session musicians instead of the actual members of the group or whatever, especially in the case of like the Wrecking Crew and stuff across town. But even at OSR where I started, there was a lot of session work, and that was because all the groups wanted their tracks to be perfect, and then all of a sudden that became, things are only cool until the exact moment that they're not. And then it's so funny because it's like day and night, like someone flicked a light switch. All of a sudden, it just was not cool to sound extremely polished. You wanted to sound a little bit, raw around the edges and maybe have some feedback, because of what Jimi Hendrix was doing with feedback sounds. And then Bob Dylan, you wanted to have more of a folk sound and sound more like you're, not so much a polished musician in a big studio with a bunch of equipment. You wanted to sound more like you were like we were doing, especially rehearsing for this album at least. Just recording in a shed or something out in the woods or whatever. That was the style. It was more of an earthy style, more down to earth style, and a folk style, and a nature driven kind of culture. And I think that has a lot to do with why the album artwork and the cover and the title of the album, the whole vibe, the whole package of the album was so, kind of like salt of the earth, real Indian imagery and, that kind of stuff, real wilderness type stuff, and Mother Nature and all that kind of thing. And I think looking back on it, I mean, 20 years later is definitely a lot of time in between actually being a part of it and recording it, and now sitting back and looking at it and listening to it. It definitely works. It holds up. So let's see if side two holds up as well as side one. Here we go. This is Track by Track with Max. You're listening to the 50th Anniversary Deluxe Sunshine Factory edition of Broken Arrow, a picture frame. on the Sunshine Factory channel. And this, the first track on side two, is called Ramble Tamble / Elevation. It was a fun song to record. One of the first songs written with Francis Futchie, and Francis really brought a jamming quality to the band that wasn't there before. I mean, we jammed together before, but that wasn't how we generated material. You know, people went off and wrote stuff and then would bring it to the group and play it for the other members, and then they pitch in if they were interested. You know, someone else in the group would collaborate with you or whatever. But we weren't the type of group to like get together and like jam for hours. You know, we rehearsed and we would maybe play with something while we were trying to come up with an arrangement or something. But there was always someone who had written the song, and I think that Francis came from more of a background of jamming to come up with material, or jamming to come up with a riff or a groove or whatever, because he really brought the fun of just the group jamming together for a long time, running something into the ground that we thought was a really good lick or riff to the group, because it wasn't something we had done before. I also remember that this track has like a euphoric feeling of rising up and up and up, the second half of it. So we called the second part Elevation. Okay, that was Ramble Tamble Elevation, the first track off the second side of Broken Arrow, a picture frame. Vocals by Francis and I, drums by good old Zach Futchie. I played lead, Penny on the organ, bass guitar, and vocals, Francis. Rhythm guitar, Neil Young. He actually jammed on that one with us because Neil was getting more hands-on with the producing and recording of the album, and getting to a point where he was feeling comfortable not only writing songs with us but playing, and you'll hear eventually singing songs. But that's exactly the kind of stuff that made Scooter angry, and that's why he left for a good period of time until we got that kind of stuff out of our system. I guess. The second song on side two, track 9 on the album as a whole, is "Something in the Air," a song I co-wrote with Pete Townsend of The Who. This song was sort of what we started out with. It was like the inspiration for the whole album, kind of, because it was after a couple things that we had. I think maybe Special Care, a picture frame, and let's see, what else? Well, eventually, after Scooter picked the winning poem, the contest winner song, which was the first track on side A. But I know I had a couple other things kind of in my pocket before the whole Neil Young thing and before Scooter left. And this was one of the songs that we did record with Scooter, the third of 3 recorded before he took off for a year. So he is singing lead on this, lead vocals. And it's the only track on the album not produced by Neil Young. It's produced by Pete Townsend. And like I said, this was at a point when we had a couple things going, a couple songs working in kind of demo versions or practice versions, and then we mastered this song and recorded it with Pete when he was in Los Angeles. And we were so happy with it that we thought, well, I think we definitely have an album here, the beginnings of our next album. So it was kind of like a kickoff song, a catalyst song that inspired us to record the whole thing. That was Something's in the Air, and that was one of our singles. There were three singles off this album, and that was one of them, written by myself and Pete Townsend. Vocals, Scooter. Bass, guitar, Scooter. That was one of the three songs recorded with him before he departed from the Futchies machine for about a year and some change. I played lead on that, Zach on drums, and of course Penny playing piano and organ. The only song on the album produced by Pete Townsend. Okay, so third track on side two. That's track 10 overall on the whole album. This is called Bluebird. And this is just straight up written by Neil and Neil Young. And I did sing the vocals on it. But this is the kind of thing that bothered Scooter so much that he split from the band for over a year because of things like this. The fact that Neil was the producer of the album, but also writing songs and performing them. He plays rhythm guitar on this, and definitely notable in the personnel of the song, people playing on the song, is there is a banjo solo in the middle of it. You know, like I said, these songs have different sections, and so like they'll just trail off, and all of a sudden some sort of jazz piano will start playing, or some sort of horn section or whatever. But in this case, in this song, it's a banjo solo, and it's played by Peter Tork, who would come around the studio every once in a while. He had officially left the Monkees at this point, and the Monkees were just Mike, Davey, and Mickey. But Peter was still very much involved in music, and was really good friends with the Buffalo Springfield and Stephen Stills and Graham Nash and those guys, and came around to Moberg a few times while we were recording this album, and we were always trying to figure out something he could do. And one thing that we all knew he could do that we couldn't do was play the banjo. Penny does play a little bit of banjo, but at the time I don't think she did. That was something that she learned later on in the later 70s, and didn't actually play it ever, you know, like on a record or live or anything until the 80s. But that is Peter Tork playing the banjo solo in the middle of Bluebird.
Listen to my bluebird laugh. She can't tell you why. Deep within her heart, you see, she knows all the crying, just lying. Yeah. There she sits, a lofty perch, strangest color blue. Flying is forgotten now. Things only of you, just you. Oh, so get all those blues. Must be 1,000 years, and each is differently used. You just know. You sit there mesmerized by the depth of her eyes. If you could categorize, she got soul, she got soul, she got soul, she got soul. sadness is her own. A verse of a bath of tears, and go home, and go home.
That was Bluebird, the B side to Something's in the Air when we released it as a single. Zach on drums, I'm playing lead guitar and doing the lead vocals, Francis on bass, Penny on organ, and Peter Tork, ex Monkey, playing the banjo for us. And that's pretty cool. Next up is Spirit in the Sky. This was a single as well, song I had written. Not that I came to the project with this song written or anything. This was something, again, that I wrote while we were up there recording the 2 months that we were up in San Francisco at Moberg. And it's my mom's favorite song that I ever wrote. I know that. She talks about how she really likes it a lot, to the point where last few years she's talked about how she wants it played at her funeral, and that's kind of a bittersweet thought, but I guess I can understand that. But I don't want to think about that kind of thing. But anyways, it's a great song. It made a great single. It's one of those songs that still gets played on radio today and that we're most recognized for. It's Spirit in the Sky.